Hello, my name is Anna Chan, and my special guest today is Leeshai Lemish. Leeshai is one of several hosts for Shen Yun Performing Arts World Tour, and he has hosted in a number of famous venues, such as New York's Radio City Music Hall, London's Royal Festival Hall, and as well, he will be hosting in Philadelphia's famed Academy of Music. Leeshai, thank you so much for being my guest today.
And it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, as I understand, you attended high school in the Philadelphia area, then you graduated with honors, earning a bachelor's in Asian Studies, and you also speak Mandarin Chinese fluently, and that's what led you to become MC for Shen Yun Performing Arts.
Yes.
And what do the two words Shen Yun actually mean?
Well, Chinese is an incredibly rich language, so it's a little difficult to translate this. Shen means something along the lines of divine, and Shen Yun together could be translated as divine spirit, or the essence of the divine movement, allure, and so on. And Shen Yun Performing Arts is about reviving the traditions of Chinese culture that are very spiritual.
So Leeshai, what should people expect when they come to see Shen Yun Performing Arts?
Well, they should expect a very dynamic show. At the core of Shen Yun Performing Arts shows is music and dance, classical Chinese dance, as well as ethnic and folk dances. And the dance is accompanied by an orchestra that combines classical Western and Chinese instruments in a very unique way. The costumes are beautiful and handmade and very bright and colorful. And we have a backdrop that brings the whole stage to life in a three-dimensional kind of way.
And what is the background behind Shen Yun? How did this all come together?
Well, Shen Yun Performing Arts is based in New York, and most of our dancers are ethnic Chinese who grew up here in the West. And what this allows the choreographers and the composers to do, being outside of China, is to have the artistic freedom to revive Chinese traditions, which unfortunately people in China cannot do today. Shen Yun's mission is to revive traditional Chinese culture. Chinese culture has a history of 5,000 years, and it's a very rich civilization. But unfortunately, much of these traditions, especially the spiritual essence behind these art forms, has been lost in China, especially over the last 50+ years under the Communist Party. And so what Shen Yun is doing is reviving these traditions. And one of the ways in which they do that is that the performers and all the people involved in this production, they try to hold themselves to the standards of traditional Chinese culture, to really live those values like compassion, like truthfulness and tolerance, humility. And so it comes from their heart. And when they go on stage and they perform, that's the heart that the audience members feel, and we're very touched by it usually.
And you mentioned classical Chinese dance. What are some examples of performances that we might see using Chinese classical dance techniques?
Well, what's fascinating about classical Chinese dance is that it can take anything, any story, any prop, and use it on stage in a very really lively way. And since China has such a long history, there are many, many stories and many values behind these stories. So for example, we have a dance about the great general Yue Fei. And he was a general back in the Song dynasty over 800 years ago. And China during that time was invaded from the north. And Yue Fei was caught in a dilemma between staying back to take care of his elderly mother and going to defend his country, between these two Chinese values of filial piety and loyalty. And in the end, what happened was his mother, to encourage him, ended up tattooing 4 words on his back: serve the country loyally. And so Yue Fei was able to complete both the respect for his mother and defending his country.
That's very interesting. Actually, let's take a look at some of the clips from the performances.
I would just say it was pretty obvious that this tradition understands theater, but not just the theater of the eyes, but of the ears as well. And the theatrical effects in the orchestra match perfectly.
I thought the show was amazing. Great energy, great spirit of optimism, the vibrancy of all the performance. This show brings it to life in color and dance and movement and wonderful sounds and wonderful music.
Now I understand there's a live orchestra as well that goes with all of this.
Yeah, we have a really unique orchestra, one of a kind in the world. And what the composers have been able to do is to take classical instruments like the violin and the oboe and the cello, and unique Chinese instruments like the 2-string erhu, known as a Chinese violin, or the pluck-string pipa, or the sona, a range of percussion instruments, put them together in a very harmonious way. And you wouldn't expect them to be able to cooperate, but actually the sound is really beautiful. It's very unique.
So Leeshai, if viewers would like to know more about Shen Yun Performing Arts, what do you suggest?
Well, we have a website, shenyunperformingarts.org. And since we'll be performing all over the world, over 100 major cities this year, that information is on the website.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking time to elaborate on traditional Chinese culture and how it's going to come through Shen Yun Performing Arts. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Anna, for having me.